Baby, be in love with your fantasies. I can be a star, make us shine so bright. Welcome to my dungeon, this is ecstasy. Let me play the fantasy.
What's good, YouTube? It's your girl, Asia.
And it's your boy, BJ. And we back like we never left. We back in the building, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning back in, pulling back up the right way. Yeah. Now, we're about to be checking out this video. We've been seeing a lot of things going on, especially concerning this airplane and the collision with this helicopter.
Yeah.
Now, this particular video is titled Black Box Decoded, What the Helicopter Pilot Said.
I've been wanting to hear this since...
Probably since it happened,
even happened.
Right?
Yeah, because I'm like, we're going to find out what really happened when we hear what happened on this black box. Because surely somebody said something. Somebody said something.
And obviously, like, looking at the video, like, there was some type of, like, miscommunication between air traffic control, the helicopter pilot. Like, there was some type of miscommunication, and I really want to get down to, like,
the only way that something like this could happen is miscommunication. That's the only way. That's the only way. I don't know how else something this tragic could happen is because of miscommunication. Somebody misunderstood something or didn't hear something or
didn't
heard
see
something.
Yeah.
Right. Didn't see something or heard something differently and they didn't do what they needed to do. But
I just hated to hear, just seeing the headline, I just hated to see that because just terrified. Yeah. Completely.
And then before we get into it, we definitely want to send our sincerest condolences out to the families that lost loved ones on that night. So our hearts and thoughts and prayers are with every single one of y'all. But let's jump into this video and see if we can get some more clarity because I want to know what happened.
Let's see.
The NTSB has finally released the contents of the Blackhawk's flight recorders, and it paints a very interesting picture. Not to step on the lead, but the Blackhawk didn't hear all the tower's radio transmissions. First, the NTSB confirmed that this was a check ride. They were doing a combination of an annual and night vision goggle qualification flight. The NTSB believes that due to the nature of this flight, they were using night vision goggles. If the pilots took the night vision goggles off, they're required to have a discussion amongst themselves that they're going to go unaided. This discussion never happened on the cockpit voice recorder, leading the NTSB to believe that they had night vision goggles on during the accident. When wearing night vision goggles, a pilot's peripheral vision reduces from 180 degrees down to 40. That makes it very difficult to see anything you're not looking directly at. In this part of the flight, the helicopter is following Route 1 and Route 4 of the helicopter routes. The NTSB notes that while these are depicted on the charts, there's no defined boundaries. However, pilots are expected to stay under the maximum height limits. At the location of the collision, the helicopter should have been at 200 feet or below, but as we'll see later, there may have been other factors at play. The first interesting anomaly that happened on the Blackhawk's cockpit voice recorder happened at 8:43 and 48 seconds. That's approximately 4 minutes before the crash. The pilot flying said they were at 300 feet, but their instructor said they were at 400. This could indicate that their altimeters were not set correctly or weren't synchronized between the left and right seat. Pilots primarily fly by using their barometric altitude. This works by measuring the air pressure around the aircraft to determine the plane's altitude. But in the real world, the barometric pressure can change, so pilots use an adjustment on their altimeter to correct for that. But if the pilot and the instructor had adjusted their altimeters incorrectly, they might have believed that they were at different altitudes than they were, or might have had a different view between the left and the right seat. The NTSB noted that there was never a discussion of these altitude discrepancies. They also noted that they weren't releasing granular altitude data at this time, as they found other discrepancies in the recordings. However, they did note that the Blackhawk's radio altimeter did provide an accurate source of data. Another thing the NTSB couldn't do was cross-reference that data with GPS information, as the GPS information was not recorded on the flight data recorder. About 2 minutes later, the instructor noted that they were flying at about 300 feet. The pilot flying acknowledged, saying they would descend down to 200. The next interesting fact that comes from the Blackhawk's cockpit voice recorder happens at 8:46:01, or just under 2 minutes before the accident. At that moment, air traffic control calls out that the traffic is a CRJ circling to runway 33.
If traffic just stopped the workspace CRJ at 1,000 feet, start runway 3.
But the Blackhawk's cockpit voice recorder does not hear the term circling. That means that even though the Blackhawk knew there was a CRJ, they did not know its location. But the most damning evidence from the Blackhawk's cockpit voice recorder happened 7 seconds before the accident, at 8:47 and 42 seconds. At that time, the air traffic controller called the Blackhawk, asking them to pass behind the CRJ.
Pass behind the CRJ.
But the Blackhawk pilots keyed their mic before the transmission was done, blanking out the portion that said pass behind. Once again, they missed that crucial location information. Aircraft, including the CRJ and Blackhawk in this accident, use VHF transmissions to communicate between other aircraft and the ground. These radios use amplitude modulation. That's the same modulation used in AM radios in your car. This has the benefit of working over very long distances, but at the expense of clarity and readability. This also has the downside that only one person can be transmitting on the same frequency at any given time. Modern digital radios, like those found in many police forces, offer a very similar range but with dramatically increased clarity. Many also allow multiple stations to be transmitting at the same time. But we don't use those in aviation for fear of breaking backwards compatibility. The instructor then replied to the air traffic control saying that the traffic was in sight and requested visual separation.
Aircraft's in sight, press visual separation. Separation.
Off of the radio, the instructor relayed to the pilot flying that they believed ATC was asking them to move left towards the banks of the river. At the time of the accident, the Blackhawk's radio altimeter read 278 feet. However, as we noted earlier, this might not have been what the pilots saw on the altimeter in front of them. At the impact, the Blackhawk was flying nearly completely level, with only 0.5 degrees nose-up pitch and a left roll of 1.6 degrees. From the data recovered, the NTSB notes that there was no electronic warnings in the Blackhawk of the CRJ that was approaching. They also noted that the Blackhawk was not transmitting ADSB information, and they were investigating for the cause. But the story is a little bit different from the CRJ cockpit. At 8:47:40, around 20 seconds before the accident, they did get a TCAS warning calling out traffic. This means that the CRJ was made aware of the traffic, but wasn't given any traffic avoidance instructions because they were under 500 feet at the time. These traffic avoidance instructions are inhibited below a certain altitude to prevent the system from telling a plane to descend into the ground. 2 seconds before the accident, the CRJ's radio altimeter reported that it was at 313 feet above ground. The CRJ was descending at 448 feet per minute, or about 7.5 feet per second. But this does still leave about a 25-foot discrepancy between the two radio altimeters. Most terrifying in the CRJ data is that the pilots commanded strong control inputs, indicating they saw the accident coming. At the time of the accident, the CRJ was at a 9-degree nose-up attitude and rolled 11 degrees to the left. The elevator on the CRJ was almost at its maximum nose-up position. The pilots did everything they could to avoid it. The NTSB noted that they're going to be performing simulations, like the ones I do on this channel, to see what the Blackhawk pilots may or may not have seen. They did note that the Blackhawk was equipped with an ADSB transmitter, but they don't know if it was turned off or if it was otherwise broken. They still have a lot of work to do, but this data sheds a lot of light on the accident.
Yeah, that actually did. That actually shed a whole lot of light on it too, because I was really, really confused as far as like what happened, as far as like what led up to those final moments.
Oh man, my eyes just get
You know?
watery. Do you see how close they were from landing? Like, just they were so close. Like they were so close.
They could see the runway, and to see that happen like that, and for that many people to lose their life due to a technicality. Issue, maybe an issue with like the instruments.
Sounded like a malfunction issue, like, and then like you said,
or miscommunication.
Yeah,
maybe.
there was some things that wasn't working right, or they weren't in sync, and then the miscommunication. It seems like there were a couple things, and for them to circle, like, you know, with traffic, they're coming in constantly. If you land on the runway, there's a plane.
Yeah, right. Come right
behind you, like, and so on and so forth. Like, it goes on all day long. So, I mean, for some reason, I feel like a part of me even thinks that even if they had those goggles on, like, they couldn't have seen them coming. It looks like they never even saw the airplane the way that they hit it.
Yeah, it looked like they didn't see they didn't
airplane
see it,
saw
but
them,
the
but
American
they didn't
Eagle
see
saw them.
Yeah,
yes, that's what it looked like. Because they pretty much travel in front of the airplane.
Of the airplane, and the airplane tried to dodge him. Like,
yeah,
it was telling them that there was something coming, but
so it's
obviously the airplane wouldn't be able to move fast enough.
So it's kind of evident that especially from that diagram too, from this reenactment, that the Blackhawk helicopter didn't see them, but the airplane saw them.
Man.
And again, just with a lot of us, especially with us, like being people that travel, take flights and things like that, it just puts a lot of things into perspective when you just watch these videos or you see these headlines and you read the news article about the plane going down and how it went down. It just brought so many questions to my head to figure out like how and why, especially if they were doing some type of training.
Yeah. Why would they be doing it like where they were at the time?
Not necessarily that, but just the miscommunication.
Right, but just go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying the miscommunication, and it's just crazy because, like I said, those small mistakes. One small mistake, one thing that gets overlooked, one small oversight, could lead to a tragedy like this. And right now, like I said, it just takes me back every time we think about it. Every time I read something new about it, and then, like I said, watching this video too.
Yeah, I'm reading this comment. This comment basically puts it exactly how it's perfectly said. It's absolutely insane that any traffic should be allowed to intersect the path of an aircraft that is on final approach to land, regardless of whether it's above, below, in front of, or behind that aircraft. That's just plain unacceptable, and in this case, deadly. So it's so like unfortunate, and I feel like, I don't know, a part of me feels like the smartest thing to do training is probably not in the path of where airliners, commercial passenger jets are landing people and are obviously accountable for all these lives of these people who have no control to do anything but sit there and just take it. Like it's hard to fathom. Like, I cannot even imagine, like, even being a pilot, I could not even imagine like having so much like of that on my shoulder, the weight of like transporting people constantly on a regular basis, and you having basically these people's lives in your hands everywhere you go. And then something like this tragically happens to not only them, but to you as well. And I think the pilot had been flying for like decades. So, he was well experienced in what he was doing. And probably I would say the same thing. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact. I know that I've heard about the pilot that was actually flying the plane, but I don't know about the person flying the helicopter.
Yeah. And this video puts a lot of it more into perspective as far as exactly what happened, because I've been seeing a lot of people, as far as like people that have been ex-pilots, people that have been in aviation. I've been seeing a lot of experts chiming in and really trying to like piece this whole thing together and put this whole puzzle together to come up with a conclusion as far as exactly what happened. And, this video definitely help with that too as well.
I think people just, more than anything, they just want to know, how did something like this happen? Like, how does this happen?
Right, especially when you see the video. It just brings up a million more questions,
Yeah. So all of that to say, y'all chime in. Let us know your thoughts on this. And if I can't say you enjoyed it, but give us a big thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, smash the notification bell so you don't miss any videos from Asia and BJ. And if ain't nobody else told you today, I love you, and we're going to see y'all in the next video, y'all.